Hello everybody, Toreno here, and welcome back to the La Royale dev server. And today we're taking a look at the French AUF1, or to give it its full technical name in game, it is the Canon de 145 Automateur Modèle F1, or as they call it in the dev server patch notes, the AMX30 AUF1, because it's built on the chassis of the AMX30. And this is coming in at 7.0. And it plugs the rather large gap between the ELC BIS at 6.0 and the AMX50 Foch at 7.3. And while it is technically in the tank destroyer line, you can see that this is basically a self-propelled gun. It's got a 155mm howitzer. And it is a very chunky tank. It's very big. It looks more like a house than a armoured fighting vehicle in some ways. And you've only got a choice of 3 shells. You've got your smoke shell, you've got a HEVT shell with 61mm of penetration and a TNT equivalent of 9.14 kilograms, and your stock HE shell, which has a maximum penetration of 54mm and an explosive mass of 6.8 kilograms. However, to make up for the use of only high explosive shells, you have an autoloader, which gives this a truly bonkers 7.5 seconds reload rate for a 155mm gun, which, like I say, helps to mitigate the use of only high explosive shells. In addition to the main gun, you've also got a 12.7mm 50 cal machine gun on the roof here, which helps against enemy aircraft. So people might struggle with this a little bit. I'm not usually a fan of high explosive only vehicles, especially at such a high battle rating, but we'll have to see how that plays out in the game itself. And the armour, as to be expected, is extremely thin. You're looking at a maximum of 30mm, and even with the sloping, you're barely looking at maybe 100mm at the very best in very specific places. And the turret itself is just ridiculously thin, 20mm at the front. You've got a little bit of a mantlet here, but again, only about 20mm. And the sides and rear aren't particularly much better, to be honest. Obviously, this is a self-propelled gun. It's not supposed to be relying on its armour, but obviously, if something does sneak up on you, it's just going to kill you instantly. For such a large tank that weighs at 42 tons, the mobility isn't that bad. It's got a top speed of 40 miles an hour, or about 64.3 kilometers an hour. And it has a transmission that allows you to go forward and backwards at the same top speed. You've got 5 gears forward and 5 gears backwards. And that's on a 637 horsepower engine. Then lastly, you've got a crew of 4. So you've got your driver in the hole here, next to the fuel tank. And then you've got your loader, commander, and gunner in the turret area. And the commander can fire the main armament if required. Of course, unfortunately, the crew are also situated by this ridiculous amount of shells. This can carry up to 42 shells. Obviously, any shots here is going to self-combust this vehicle in quite a dramatic way. So anyway, that is the AUF1. Like I say, I'm not a huge fan of HE-only vehicles, but we'll have to see how it plays out. And of course, it is nice to see this huge gap in the tank destroyer lineup being filled. Anyway, that's the AUF1. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video on it. Hopefully you'll join me for the next one. I've been Toreno, and I'll see you next time.